Hey there. Welcome. Welcome to my studio. I'm Mr. Paul. I'm an artist and an art teacher, and I've been doing these videos for the Arts Council of Oklahoma City while we're out of school. If this is your first time, I'm glad you're here. If you've been here before with me, I'm glad you're here too. That's cool. I like it when young people come in and try these art projects. Um, I hear that a lot of kids are bored. Well, 30 minutes, 40 minutes to an hour out of your day, you can do an art project with me or with any of the other artists that are with the Arts Council that are doing these virtual art classes. Today, well, before we start up, I just want to, besides welcome you, I hope that you've been okay since the last time I saw you, that you're well. Nobody that you know is sick. Things are out there are getting a little bit more normal, but not quite. It's still kind of iffy out there. You guys aren't going to be going back to school before summer, so things are a little bit different, but we're going to be okay. Things are going to be things are going to get better as time progresses. So today what we're going to do, the project today is called Once Upon a Time. And what that means is that usually when you hear the term Once Upon a Time, it's about a book. It's about a story that starts out. And what we're going to do, we're not going to write a story today, but what we're going to do is we're going to be making a cartoon strip. Meaning, I'm assuming that a lot of you have seen comic books. When I was your age, every newspaper in every city in the United States had a newspaper, and in the Sunday paper, the special Sunday paper, which was a much bigger paper, they had what was called the funny papers. And the funny papers there was like 4 or 5 full-size pages of comic strips. Uh, Strips meaning it wasn't just one little panel that had the cartoon in it. It had 3 or 4 or 5 little panels, little squares, and within those 4 or 5 panels, it told a little story, right? And that's kind of what we're going to do today. Now, how we're going to do this is going to be real simple. It's about doing a lot of drawing and kind of thinking in your head about what kind of little story can you draw. And what we're going to do today is I'm using a big piece of paper, but you don't have to use a big piece of paper. I'm just using a big piece of paper because I want to draw it big and you can see it right better. But you can use like a regular white sheet of paper. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to get you a ruler. You don't have to use a ruler if you want, but if you want straight lines, find the center of your paper, right? And draw a line from one edge all the way to the other edge, right? And then going up and down, going vertical, I want you to draw 2 lines, one here, one here, one here, one here. And you can make them go all the way down exactly the same thing. I just thought it would be a little different if I made them a little different. So I went down halfway and then I moved over and I drew the line. And so what I've done is I've created 6 panels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I'm going to try to tell a little story in 6 pictures. That's not very many. When you think that, like animated movies and stuff like that, they use tens and thousands of panels like that. But we're only going to try to do this in 6. So you have to really kind of plan ahead. And it has to be, and I must say, it's going to have to be a real simple story. Now, it would be great. Now, if you were doing a whole book where you have 100 different panels, well, that's different. you can make you can make your story really, really long and complicated. But because we only have 6 little panels to tell just a little bitty story, you really have to plan ahead. So I've already made up one to show you what I'm getting at. Uh, my my comic strip, which isn't really funny, but it's a good show of what I'm trying to get you to do, and that is this is called a flower. So every time you go to the next panel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something has to happen, right? So what I did is I started out with like a flower pot and the sun shining, right? And there's this little tiny, tiny leaf right here. Time goes by, and the sun's out here. Time goes by. It's the same pot, but there's a leaf coming up. It's changed, right? Didn't have that? It's changed. And what else has changed? There's a cloud in the sky. The sun's still out, but the cloud's in the sky. The next panel, same pot, but now that plant has 2 leaves. So it's changed from this little tiny thing over here. I've added 2 different things, a leaf and a cloud. Things have changed, right? Over here, now there's 2 leaves, but where's the sun? Sun's gone. Clouds have come in, and look, it looks like it's about to rain. Oh no. Well, maybe it's cool for the plant, right? Okay, the next one. What's going on now? Right? Oh my gosh, the clouds have darkened, and it is just raining on that plant. Look at that. It's just raining. But look, the plant has gotten bigger. That's cool. The next one, the sun's peeking out of the clouds, and look, we've got more leaves, and we've got the starting of a flower, and look, the sun's shining. And the 6th one, well, you know what's going on. The clouds are gone. The sun is up. Look, it's a full plant now, and it's got a really pretty flower. So what's happened is you've created a little story. It's like the birth of a flower. You see it grow in each panel to where it's gotten bigger and it's starting to flower. And not only did it grow, but something else happened. The weather changed. As soon as it started getting raining, it made the plant grow taller, and it bloomed. This is a really simple story. It may not be like the most exciting story, right? But I'm trying to give this to you as an example of what I'm wanting you to think about when you do your 6 panels. It could be anything. It could be a boy standing with a cake in his hand. The next one, he's walking with the cake in his hand, and there is a rock on the road. This one, he's got the cake in his hand. His foot hits the rock, and the cake looks like it's about to fall. This one, the cake has fallen. He's looking down at the cake thinking, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. This one, he bends down to pick up the cake that's smashed. And this one, he's picked up the cake and he's walking by. A simple little story, right? And so that's kind of what I want you to do. I want you to try to make a simple little story using the 6 panels to tell a full story. A little seedling, weather change, ended up to be a big flower. So, a few things that I need for you to think about too is there are things that don't change, right? The things that don't change is the pot, the flower pot. It's always red and it's always in the same place. You know why? Because flower pots don't move. They don't have legs. They don't run around. The things that do move. The clouds, the rain, the sun, and the growing plant. These are the things that you need to kind of think about when you do these comic strips. In a comic strip, what makes it work is that there is a consequence to everything that happens. In here, the consequence is that you got a little seedling, but the sun's really good. The rays of the sun goes down and helps the plant. That's an action. Something is happening. Same thing here. Something's happening, but something really important has happened here. It's getting rain. So it rains, and the plant gets healthier, and it gets bigger, right? Same thing here. It's really raining now. It really needed, because plants need a lot of water too. So there's a consequence. If it rains, that's the action, right? And the reaction is that the plant gets bigger. And so that's how you make things move through this little time frame that we're in. We all know that a plant to get from this size to this size takes more than just a day. But for an example of what I'm trying to get you to do, it's important for you to understand that something has to happen. Today we've got a little plant, but if you wanted to do something with a dinosaur egg, here you got a volcano in the background, and there's a couple of eggs, and here the egg starts to crack open. Over here, there's a little head coming out of the egg. Down here, the feet are coming out of the egg, and make it to where at the end, the full little baby dinosaur is out of the egg. Something happened within the storyline. You're telling a story of the birth of a baby dinosaur or the birth of a flower. Another thing too is you need to name your comic strip. I just used the flower. But whatever you do, come up with a name for your little comic strip and put it somewhere on your comic strip. Another thing that is fun to do is if you wanted to do something like that. Watch this. There we go. If you want to, you can make words. Oh boy! That's another thing that a lot of comic strips have, is they have dialogue. They have the characters talking. That's something else that you could add too. Now, if you are planning to do something like this, let me show you how I started out. I started out with the ground. That's always a good thing. Start out with the ground, right? And then I made my pot. real simple. I have a lot of pots in my garden, so it was really easy for me to come up with the design. Right? And then because I started out with a little tiny plant, I just put a little bitty leaf here. You can barely see it, right? You can barely see it. And of course, the sun. And so, if these were characters in a movie, you got the pot as a character, the plant as a character, and the sun as a character, right? Down here, it's the same thing. The ground doesn't move. If the ground is green up here, then the ground is green down here, right? I'm going to put the same pot here. Why? Because the pot hasn't changed, right? It's the same pot. But what's changed is the plant. Circle, and I put my petals in. And I want to put that sun in because the sun is an important character in this thing. It helped the plant grow. Right? So it went from this to this. Now, in my classes, I allow the kids to basically do take the idea and do something that you want to do, right? Um, I just used this as an example for you to, you know, to get the idea of how to do a simple 6-panel cartoon. You know that comic books have really come a long way since I was a kid. Now they have what's called illustrated novels. In fact, they're making movies out of some illustrated novels. In illustrated novels, they're like really thick books that are nothing but drawings and dialogue. The characters in the books are talking to each other. I know that there's a lot of like superhero books that are done in these what's called illustrated novels. Comic books are usually maybe 10 pages, 15 pages. Well, these graphic novels, they're like, you know, a couple of hundred pages. Beautiful, beautiful artwork being done in those. So, anyway, I just wanted to give you an idea on how to do a comic strip. Um, in my classes in school, I have several young people that are making comic books, like real comic books. Beautiful, beautiful work. So give this a try. If you want to do something with, you know, unicorns, or use something that you're really involved in, something that you really like, and make a small storyline that you can tell in 6 panels. If you do that and you really enjoy it, do a story with 12 panels or 20 panels. Make a comic book, right? So keep that in mind. I hope that you can kind of get into this and make your own comic strip. They're a lot of fun. When I was a kid, I made myself. I was really into comic books when I was a kid. Keep in mind, we didn't have video games or we didn't have the internet or anything like that when I was a kid. So comic books were a big part of my childhood. I used to collect Superman and Justice League comic books, and I sure wish I still had them because some of them are worth lots and lots of money right now. But anyway, until next time, get out in this gorgeous weather today. You know, if your folks allow you to do that, hopefully you can get out. It's just simply beautiful today. I'm going to try to get out and do some gardening myself. Stay safe, stay healthy, and above all, don't be bored. Don't be bored. There's so many cool things that you can create and do just on your own. So until next time, have a good day. I'll see you.